Hello, and welcome back to Lipstick Chronicles. What's love got to do with it? The place where we talk about love and relationships. This is our third episode.
Yay!
I'm here with my friend, my BFF, Nicola Staples, and we've got quite a show today. Today, we're going to dispel myths. We're going to talk about all those things that we've heard that may or may not be true.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, before we get started, I want to just say one thing. We're talking about love and relationships. And for the last two episodes, we shared a little bit about our personal lives and the like and our relationships. But I want to make it clear, we are not experts in love and relationships.
No.
We clearly have experience. We have spoken to so many women about relationships. And in fact, love and relationships is not exclusive to women, quite honestly. It's what movies, books, stories, and a lot of our music that we listen to, it's about love and relationships.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'm reminded Tupac Shakur said, sometimes I'm at war with my heart. So it's not just women. But we're sharing a lot of the things that we've heard, and we just want to make this a forum where we can have an open, honest dialogue and discourse and discuss love and relationships in order for us as women to make better and more informed choices.
What you said.
That sounds good? Okay.
Yeah, we're not experts by any means, but we think that everybody else, in terms of the collective learning that we've heard, is advantaged by hearing about what others have experienced that worked and that didn't work. And so This is an effort to be able to share some of those best practices and some of the watch outs that we've seen over time, so that we all have the benefit of other people's heartbreaks or
other people's successes.
Other people's successes, absolutely. Absolutely. So with that, we are going to start with our questions, right?
And we're going to start with our first question.
All right. All right.
Should you always look for the nice guy?
Should you look for him?
Or is the goal to get the nice guy? Is the nice guy the best guy for you?
Not all the time. And that does not mean that you don't want somebody who is nice. But you need other things too. In the same way that Tina Turner said, what's love got to do with it? It's kind of like that, what's nice got to do with it? Or like Drake, nice for what, right? Nice is important, but it's equally as important as other things too. Nice and assertive and smart and kind and spiritual and other things that are important. When you allow nice to rise to the top, you're gonna meet a lot of people who are nice who don't deserve your heart, frankly. So you can't just run with nice because that'll get you a nice little heartbreak, or get you into a relationship with a really nice guy that you don't love, that you don't have anything in common with, that you can't take home to your mama. Just on and on, because he's nice. That is not enough.
I agree. I think nice is nice, and if I had a choice between nice and naughty, clearly I would take nice. But as you said, okay, well, she'll take naughty.
Naughty and nice.
You can have nice naughty. Seriously, nice is nice, but you're absolutely right. Mm-hmm. Nice may not be the best for you, because nice may not work when you need an emotional companion.
That's right.
For your emotional support.
Mm-hmm.
Nice may not work when, quite frankly, you need to get something done. You need somebody who can roll up their sleeves and get whatever that it is done, because you don't want congenial conversation at that point. You don't want someone who's just nice and can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, nice is important, but nice is not nice. For example, is not going to suffice if that person is not intellectually compatible with you.
Mm-hmm.
So nice is good, but nice alone, don't settle for nice. I've spoken. In fact, we have spoken with so many women over the years, and so many have talked about they've married the nice person and they've regretted it. So many have also, on the other hand, talked about the fact that they've married the bad boy, and they regretted
it,
too.
right.
So there is no one or the other, but it is a myth to think that as long as that person is nice, that's the best person for you.
Yes, and it goes back to what we've been saying all along about the heart and head decisions. Nice is important. Don't walk away from listening to us thinking that nice is not important, because it really is. But it's got to be coupled with other things that are equally as important as
Things
well.
that challenge you, a partner that challenges you, a partner that motivates you.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you don't want Mr. Congeniality. You want the person that works best for you.
And a partner that is attractive to you.
Right.
You know, sometimes nice doesn't come with attractiveness, and that's not nice.
Well, what was the expression? Nice guys finish last.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Sometimes they do. And myth number 2.
Mm-hmm.
The myth is there is such a thing as Mr. Right.
Mm-hmm.
For you. Do you agree? Or not for you, but do you agree that there is a Mr. Right out there?
One specific person?
Yes.
No, because depending upon where you are in your life, you have different needs. In terms of your level of maturity, in terms of where you are with regard to your career, where you are spiritually. And so you have to have he's really got to be Mr. Right now in order to be Mr. Right long term. Because sometimes Mr. Right now, and that's a qualifier too. Mr. Right now can get you in trouble too, because it might be something that you need right now, that you want right now, but might not be good for you in the short term or the long term. So you need to make sure that whomever you're working with and whomever you're looking for with regard to whether he's Mr. Right is Mr. Right short term and Mr. Right long term too. And a lot of times we allow our sexual prowess and our desire that he got to be fine and he got to be all these things. Got to have a good job.
Okay. I thought we talked about.
Fine is fine.
In episode 1, that you thought fine was okay.
Fine is fine. Okay.
Okay.
But it's not enough, you know. And fine does not define Mr. Right either. When you are taking a step back and you take the opportunity to think about what it is that you want, Mr. Right has to check off lots and lots of boxes, not just the one that you need fulfilled right now.
And not only that, I think that because we change and we age, at my age now, the things that I would be looking for in a partner are very different from what I looked at
Absolutely.
when I was 24 or 25.
Mm-hmm.
So Mr. Right should be Mr. Right now,
mm-hmm.
because that's who you are
mm-hmm.
right now.
Mm-hmm.
But you want that person who you are right now to
because
have
he can't be Mr. Tonight. Okay? Yeah.
To have the ability to evolve into Mr. who you are 30 years down the road.
Right.
And that's where those decision-making characteristics and the wisdom comes in,
mm-hmm.
and your decision-making and your selection process of who you're choosing.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. First of all, I don't think there is such a thing as Mr. Right or Mr. Perfect. He doesn't exist because we're not right and we're not perfect. Think about it. And that Prince Charming, I mean, Lord knows, I think Prince Harry, is that his name? Prince Harry and Meghan?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, who would not want to marry a prince? And I think he's kind of good looking too. And he's rich. I mean, checks off a lot of boxes. But I guarantee you, he's not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
He's got flaws. I bet if you ask Meghan, he may drop his drawers on the floor or something that drives her crazy.
Well, he probably like, you should have checked that grandmother a long time ago. Okay?
Well, he probably does drop his drawers because he'd have to pick up his drawers. He has somebody to pick them up for him. But he is not perfect. So to assume that Mr. Right is perfect is just, you're dealing with false assumptions to begin with.
And we're not perfect either.
That was what I began with.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, and if your Mr. Right is looking for a Miss Right, run. Run, because you will always disappoint. You know, no one person should be something that you look to fulfill all of your needs. If that's the case, then you're not meant for each other anyway. And if you're looking for somebody to check all the boxes to make you complete, you really need to run and do some work on yourself first.
Love should have limits. Is that true?
Say more. Yes, but say more.
Love should have limits. Is that true? Well, just that for some people, love is love is love, and you do whatever for the sake of love. So it's unlimited. It's unbounding. Should you have limits on love in terms of what you do for a mate and what you don't do for a mate?
Yeah, those limits should.
So the myth is. Let me just clarify that love conquers all.
Oh yeah, no, and don't believe the hype. You need to be guided in any relationship, as far as love is concerned, by your values. You don't usurp and sort of undermine yourself by chucking your values and the things that are important to you out the window because you in love and he fine and that's the one. Because if you do that, I guarantee you'll be disappointed. You have to make sure that you go into these relationships with some boundaries set for yourself. And we talk about boundaries all the time. Boundaries are meant for you. It's the thing that tells you that something is out of order.
Danger, Will Robinson.
It's not for other people, it's for you. And so when that love starts to creep over into your boundaries and you start to feel uncomfortable about sacrificing the things that you knew going into the relationship were important to you, that's when you have to set up some limits as a safeguard to your heart, sometimes your pocket, your health, and there are other things as well.
Your sanity.
Absolutely.
Because love should not make you compromise on your sanity or your pocketbook or your health. You said something that I want to jump into, piggyback on. You said the one. It's interesting because Nicole and I did some research because we were, as I said, talking about relationships, and we polled women to ask them about their loves. And what we found out was that the majority of women, regardless of whether they were married, single, young, old, whatever their station or place was in life, said there was one person, just one person that stood out as their true love. And even though they maybe married to someone else or moved on, they singled that one person was their true love. Now, what's interesting is, in addition to saying that this person was their one true love, they also admitted that it was the craziest time in the world for them, that it was their one true love, and it was kind of like a Charles Dickens movie. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And for the majority of them, it was the worst of times that ended in disaster. And they're not even with them anymore. Yet they still say that it's their one true love. So it's interesting when you say that love with limits and the like, because so many of them shared that with this one person, they did the craziest things. And they crossed lines that they never would have crossed.
Absolutely.
There were no boundaries.
Right.
And when you look at it at the end of the day, 5, 10, 15, how many ever years longer it is, they're not even with that person anyway. But yet they sacrifice so many hard, long years, time, their sanity, and in some cases, they lost a lot.
Yeah, we've talked to women in the same manner that we talked to women before about the research that Angie was referring to. Well, going back to what Angie said, most of the women who think that there was the one love are not with those men or those partners. And we've talked to them, a lot of them, that have sacrificed, some of them their childbearing years, some of them familial relationships, some of them severe financial impact,
health,
going back to what Angie was saying earlier, mental health. Some of them have sacrificed many of the things that were you to tell them going in that they would sort of shirk those things that were initially important to them for the sake of this love. They would have told you were crazy.
Because they thought love had no limits.
Because it didn't for them.
Right.
For them. But hindsight being 2020, they now know that wasn't the healthiest place to be in. And so what we're trying to bring to you all today is that healthy boundaries keep you safe. So think about what those boundaries are for you and make sure that when you're going into a new relationship that you're erecting boundaries that will keep both of you safe, frankly.
Absolutely. You can't have love and happiness. You know, Al Green said that song. He sang a song, Love and Happiness. That was my daddy's song.
Mm-hmm.
But love and happiness, you can't have both. You have to pick one.
Mm-mm. I don't agree. Oh.
Okay, you need to say more. Okay, this is about elevating discourse. Okay, so get to discourse.
Yeah, you can have both. I do, and I'm thankful for it. And it has been a labor of love. I mean, I've been married. You guys have heard me say 29 years before, and it is something that both of us worked at. And I love my husband, and I am happy. Was that always the case throughout the 29 years? No, it was not. But it's something that you have to be intentional about, and something that you have to go in with your eyes open with regard to growing with another person. When you are thinking about what that might look like when you're walking into a relationship, I think it's ideal, and it's not sort of Pollyanna-ish to look for love and happiness. That's what everybody wants. That's the ideal. And so if you find going into a relationship, whether it's new or getting some age on it, that you don't have either love or happiness, it's time to take a little gut check to figure out why, and to start to doing some mid-course correction to make sure that you're getting to your place of love and happiness with the person that you're with. And if it's not the right person, then you need to do a little searching around that too, to see what you can do to get there together, if that's what you want.
I agree, but so many women seem to think that you can't have both. And the reason why, there were so many that we spoke with that said they married the nice guy, and so they took the safe route. Or there was another person that we spoke with, remember the elderly lady who said, she was like in her 80s, and she said she'd rather have someone to pay the bills.
Oh, that's the one that's never been in love.
Than hot britches.
Mm-hmm.
And a warm something. Mm-hmm. She was hilarious. So she felt that she needed to pick one. And a lot of women think they need to pick one because they think they're not going to get love and happiness. They get the safe, nice guy, or they get the rich, nice guy that doesn't handle or fulfill them, or they get the bad guy who is broke or the bad guy with all the money. Mm-hmm. So you have to pick one or the other. And so the myth that you're dispelling then is you can't have both. Correct?
Yeah, because there's such a range of people. You know, those are polar opposites. And what I would challenge people to do is to find the thing that's important to you, or those characteristics that are important to you in that middle, and then work from there. You're not going to find a perfect guy. And
except Idris. Don't talk about Idris.
Well, okay. That's another thing.
Okay.
That's a whole other thing.
But I love my husband.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, Idris.
You have to be able to work towards it, and to look for somebody that is loving and respectful, and that makes you happy, and then you can work towards the other things that are important to you. But don't sacrifice those other things, is what I'm saying. You can get there. It does take work, though.
Is there such thing as happily ever after?
It can be, but it's not a given.
Let me take that back. And they lived happily ever after. Is that a myth? Because that's the story. That's from the the fairy tales. They lived happily ever after.
I think that's a story. That is a myth, because life happens, and while, trauma may be temporal and happiness is more long-term, there will be times when life happens, when, somebody is sick, or, somebody is, having distress at work, or something's going on with the kids, or something is going on in your life where you're not necessarily happy with your current circumstances, but that doesn't necessarily have to carry over to the relationship. But right now, maybe you're not even an equal partner in it, because whatever you're going through is so all-consuming that you can't contribute the amount that you're supposed to contribute to it. And what we say is ideally everybody's bringing 100, like there's no 50-50, because at some point somebody gonna fall down and you're gonna be mad. And anyway, if you bring 100, then everybody's always on, on game, but there will be some times when everybody doesn't have everything to bring, and that's okay because there's a balance and you balance each other out. The problem is when each one of you are not bringing the other one up, where you have to rely on one another's reserve, but you're not contributing anything towards that reserve, and you're also taking more than you give. That's where the problem is.
So you're saying you put in what you expect to give and vice versa. If you're not giving, you can't get.
Well, I mean, that's scriptural. To have a friend, you got to be friendly. But in the same way, then to have a love, you got to be lovely. To have happiness, you have to be happy.
Well, it's so interesting because so many of the women that we have talked to and that we talk to now, they kind of have this happily never after.
Oh, no. Why would anybody want to live like that, though?
I
We are in control of our own destinies. And we're also in control of who we choose to live with, who to be with, who to marry, who to love. We're in control of that. And I think a lot of times people get into this sort of victimization, oh, he did this or she did that or whatever. You better own it. Because the longer that you sit in it not feeling like you are culpable for where you are and that you have some responsibility for the seat that you sit in right now, the longer you're going to be in that seat. Own it and then fix it.
How does she feel about that? How does you feel about that? That's the whole point of why we're doing this. Because it's about owning the responsibility of yourself as well as of your decision-making processes. Right. So until we can be honest with ourselves and say, hey, this is a thing about me that I need to fix, or these are the kinds of people that aren't healthy for me, we're not going to make wise decisions because we're not operating in a mindset that's most productive for us. So I think what you said makes a lot of sense.
Yes, introspection is necessary.
And owning your issues, your isms, your faults, your weaknesses.
Yeah, you got to take some time to look in the mirror to see how the decision making that you have been doing has impacted where you are.
Or and if you how is that working out for you?
Exactly.
You keep doing this.
Exactly.
How is that working?
Because if you don't like it, then it's your responsibility to go fix it and to then do some work on self to figure out how I got here, where did I go wrong, and then what I need to do to first get myself out of it.
Why do I keep making the same decisions?
And to never go back to that same place again.
Because patterns are hard. And so many of the women that we talk to admit to making choices and picking partners that are similar to past partners.
That's right.
And so it's kind of a repetitive cycle of the same. But they approach each relationship as if, well, this one's going to be different. It's not.
And you know why? Because you're the same.
Exactly.
You're still taking you into that relationship.
Right. And you, wherever you go, you take you
wherever
with you.
you go, you go.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. So what you going to do about that? Start with self.
Absolutely. Once a cheater, always a cheater. That's a good one. We talked about cheating first episode, second episode. I don't know. Well, based on what we've heard, those cheaters never seem to change their stripes. I'm trying to think back of not just from our research, but from just our conversations at large with different people, whether or not the people who were unfaithful remained unfaithful. Many of them were still unfaithful. And I think that points to a character issue. And I think when we talked about cheating before, and I said for me personally, I wasn't a good person because I don't look for cheating.
Right.
But one thing that I do not like, and I think that it's technically not cheating, but I think it's a problem, and that's the partners with the roving eyes. I understand now. If Mr. Elba, that's my second time mentioning him in the show, walked by, I might have to look. That's it. Nobody else. So I'm technically not a cheater. But seriously, all jokes aside, if you have a mate that's constantly on a swivel, but yet they still come home every night. To me, that's cheating. But I don't know. I don't know the answer to once a cheater, always a
But you
cheater.
know
I mean, no, but nobody's the same. Well, I believe that people have the opportunity to change.
Yes, they do.
Everyone can change
Yes, they do.
if they're motivated to change.
If they're motivated, and if they do the work that I was talking about before,
Right.
in terms of being introspective about why you got there, why you did it in the first place. Because most of the time, the issues with cheaters have to do with themselves, not their mates. But I'll go back to something that you said before about the person looking around all the time and
The
coming
head
home
on
at
the
night.
swivel. Yeah.
I don't know whether I would consider that cheating. I would consider them mature.
I think it's disrespectful.
It is disrespectful. Well, that speaks to immaturity too, because you don't have enough, and even a lack of self-control too. If you don't have enough self-control to control your eyes, and in
If
an
you can't
obvious
control your eyes,
fashion.
then maybe you can't control other parts.
Okay.
So I think that all goes in because it's a self-discipline issue. And so you have to self-discipline yourself not to indulge on the other side
Right.
over there.
Right.
But you have to also self-discipline yourself to not look.
Thanks so much for joining us. We are excited to join you every weekend and week out to talk about all things love and relationships. Get excited because next week we're going to be talking about boundaries, how to establish them, what you should look for in a mate with regard to your boundaries, and then what to do once you're in those relationships. Boundaries are important.
Absolutely. So again, thanks for tuning in to Lipstick Chronicles. What's love got to do with it?
Thanks.